Welcome to chapter 12 of the book of Ezekiel, the captivity portrayed. So now Hezekiah has come to these people through the Spirit, by the Spirit, in captivity in someplace under the Chaldean rule, which could be almost anywhere in the Mesopotamian area, from even up into Syria, all the way down to the bottom of the Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates River go out into the Persian Gulf? I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. But wherever they come out, they control that whole area. So the captivity may have been spread. And anyway, the word of the Lord, again, the Logos, the word of the Lord came to me saying, O Son of Man, you dwell in the midst of their iniquities, the ones who have eyes to see and see not, and have ears to hear and hear not, for it is a rebelling house. The condemnation of the people of Israel, a rebelling house. It's not an individual that he is coming against here, or to come against any one person, but a whole entity, a people, a nation. And it's a rebelling house, a rebelling nation. The condition has spread throughout all the area, the people, into the whole place has become more or less an open sore, festering, that God has to do something about it. The condemnation in the Bible of an entity like Israel here is really unprecedented, and it has happened more than once, where these people have been condemned. In the New Testament, the only thing I can compare it to is one with Jesus saying in Matthew 11:23, and you, Capernaum, the place raised up high unto the heaven, unto Hades you shall be brought down. So the city of Capernaum, which rejected Jesus Christ, is more or less cursed here, or at least he tells where they're going to be going. And the only other place that I can think of where entities have something negative about them would be some of the churches in the book of Revelation. But none of them is severe or anything close to the condemnation here that we see in Ezekiel. With the book of Revelation, most of those churches did a lot of good things, certain things they were doing wrong, which God was coming against, but nothing like being a rebelling house like he's saying here. So as a result, he says, and you, O son of Anthropu, prepare yourself items for captivity, and be as captured by day in their presence. So he's to put on a play, and this play will looks like it's going through the day into the night. Who was watching this? It doesn't say. So we will, maybe a few people, maybe quite a few, and exactly where it was, it doesn't say that either, just in the captivity. And so he's here is a prophecy of what's going to happen, the final downfall of Jerusalem when they are finally captured. They had been taken over by Nebuchadnezzar earlier, and he set up Jehoiakim, but Zedekiah. But Zedekiah has revolted against Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar will come back and destroy the city. And so this captivity this play that he's putting on has to do with the last days of the kingdom. And he says, and you shall be as captured from out of your place. Topu, we have topography, has to do with map making. You shall be captured from out of your place into another place before them. So he's to act like somebody has taken him from out of your place into another place, so that they should see. So the idea is that they are going to be taken away from one place and taken as captives to another. Well, let me get this. Let's see why it's not jumping here. That over there. There it is. For it is a rebelling house. So they're going to be taken captive. And you shall bring forth your items for a day of captivity before their eyes. Now, exactly what it was, probably some clothes and things on their back, sandals, extra sandals, something of value to them, hopefully that they can get it and take it with themselves. Maybe tools of a trade. Maybe somebody was a leather maker and he has his awl and twine and leather and so forth. Another person can be has another trade, and maybe they're taking things like that with them. Maybe they allow them to do that. When they went to the new area, they were able to start working there under their trade. And you shall go forth at evening before them. So now we had whether he started in the daytime and now at evening, he's starting to leave. And it says, as a captive goes forth before them. Well, I'm not exactly sure why captives would leave at evening. I mean, to me, it would seem like they would be going and leaving in the morning, but apparently that wasn't the case. When peoples were taken, they went in the evening. Then he says, dig yourself into the wall, and you shall go completely through it. Now, what he's talking about here, and here he's prophesying, is what's going to happen to King Zedekiah. It mentions the story, what happens when Jerusalem falls and what happens to King Zedekiah in 2 Kings 25, 2-7, and Jeremiah 52, 4-11. Let's go to Jeremiah and we'll read about what happens. And it says, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his kingdom, in the 10th month, on the 10th of the month, King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came in all his force against Jerusalem. And they encamped by it and built against it a rampart round about. And the city came into conflict until the 11th year to King Zedekiah. In the 4th month, the 9th of the month, even the famine was solidified in the city, and there were not breads to the people of the land. And the city was cut through, and all the men warriors fled and went forth by night, according to the way of the gate, in the middle of the wall. Now, this is probably maybe what he was talking about, fleeing at night. The captives are the ones that were going to be. And they, according to the way of the gate in the middle of the wall and the area around the wall, which was next to the garden of the king, some secret place that they could get out, apparently. And the Chaldeans were upon the city round about, and went by the way into the wilderness. So they fled into the wilderness, and actually they went over towards Jericho, the Jordan. And the force of the Chaldeans pursued after the king and overtook him on the other side of Jericho. And all his servants were dispersed away from him. And they seized the king, Zedekiah, and led him to the king of Babylon in Riblah in the land of Hamath, which will be the northernmost border of Israel in the future. And this Riblah up north, almost by this Turkish-Syrian border. And Nebuchadnezzar spoke against him with judgment. And the king of Babylon slew the sons of Zedekiah in front of his eyes. And all the rulers of Judah he slew in Riblah. And the eyes of Zedekiah were blinded. And he bound him in shackles, and the king of Babylon led him into Babylon, and put him into the mill house until the day of which he died. So this is what it's talking about here, this digging in the wall. You're going to be doing this. You shall be taken up before them upon a shoulder. So apparently they hid Zedekiah in some type of bindings and like luggage. And you shall go forth being hidden. you shall cover up your face, and in no way should you behold the ground. For I have put you as a portent to the house of Israel. So they are secreting him out, covered up, couldn't see anything. And I did thus according to all as much as he gave charge to me. So Ezekiel does this type of thing, and they carry him. It says, and I brought forth items for the day of captivity, as maybe in his case, some books. And at evening I dug through the wall myself by hand, so some little wall probably, and went under it. And being hidden, I came forth, and I was taken up upon a shoulder in the presence of them. So he got through, and these people were helping the king escape, and they lifted him up on their shoulder. And the word of the Lord came to me in the morning, saying, O son of man, said not to you the house of Israel, the rebelling house? And here's what God is saying that they're saying. What are you doing? Well, say to them, thus says Adonai the Lord, to the ruler, that would be Zedekiah, and one guiding in Jerusalem, even to all the house of Israel who are in the midst of them. Say that I do portents, in which manner I have done, so it will be to them. Unto displacement and in captivity they shall go. So if they come and say, what are you doing? Then he tells them this is from God, and it's what's going to happen to them. And the ruler in the midst of them shall be lifted upon a shoulder. Now he's prophesying Zedekiah what will happen. And being hid, he shall come forth through the wall, and shall dig through to come forth himself through it. He shall cover up his face, so that he should not be seen by an eye. And he shall not see the ground. And I will spread forth my net upon him, that is, God is going to cause him to be seized, and he shall be seized in my encompassing about. And I will lead him into Babylon, into the land of the Chaldeans, which it said, and he shall not see it. Well, he's blind. And he shall come to an end there, all predicted by Jeremiah. And all the ones round about him, his helpers, and all the ones assisting him, I will scatter to all the wind, and I will pour out a broadsword after them. And here he's referring to many of the people who left and went to Edom, Moab, Ammon, east of the Jordan, and then Egypt to the west. And Nebuchadnezzar came down with a broadsword and killed many of these people that had fled. And they shall know that I am the Lord in my scattering them among the nations. So they're going to know that it is the Lord, because we know in Jeremiah that these people that fled to Egypt were sacrificing and worshiping or bowing down to the God, the Queen of Heaven, and the women were making things for the Queen of Heaven, Ashtart. And so the things that they were doing after they were again wiped out, then apparently eventually some of these people knew that Jehovah God was the one doing it. And I will scatter them in the places. And they were scattered throughout the area. They went into Egypt, like I mentioned, then even eastward to Alexandria, where 1/4 of the city of Alexandria, which later was built up by Alexander the Great, 1/4 of it was called the Jewish Quarter. And they fled up into Antioch and all over, as far as they could go. And I will leave from out of them a few men in number, from out of the broadsword, and from out of the famine, and from out of the plague. So even they may tell in detail all their lawless deeds among the nations of which they entered there. So the few that are left will be able to tell what they were doing, the lawlessness that they were doing. And they shall know that I am the Lord. Now, after the destruction of Israel by the Romans for 2,000 years, they were sent, they were spread all over the Mediterranean, Italy, Spain. Every place that they went, they had problems. Into Russia, Austria, Hungary, every place they went. And they are a people that were pretty much kept together, stayed together. And I don't see them announcing too much to the unbelievers, or the people that weren't Jews, the wonderful things of Jehovah. Mostly by that time with the Romans, all these areas were all Christian, and the Jews saw them as enemies. And the Christians more or less saw the Jews as a people that were not to be trusted, and had crucified the Lord. So therefore they were having problems. And so and they shall know that I am the Lord. Now, I don't know if they still do know. Maybe some do, I'm sure, but many probably don't. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O son of Anthropu, you shall eat your bread with grief, and you shall drink your water with torment and affliction, which was happening in the city to all these people. And you shall say to the people of the land, Thus says Adonai, Kyrios, to the ones dwelling in Jerusalem, upon the land of Israel, specifically in Jerusalem. They shall eat their breads with lack, and shall drink their water with obliteration, so that the land should be extinct with her fullness and impiety of all the ones dwelling in her. So impiety was the one problem. They did not basically believe in God, and were impious towards him, becoming idolaters, lawbreakers, ridiculing God, everything that was the opposite of piety towards God, a holiness towards God. And so these people, because of this impiety, were caused to have famine, as I mentioned, we read in Jeremiah there. And it says, their cities being dwelt in shall be made quite desolate. So it wasn't just Jerusalem. And the land will be for extinction. And you shall realize that I am the Lord. Again, over and over again. Then you realize that I am the Lord, if they did. And the word of the Lord, the Logos, another place here it starts, came to me, saying, O son of Anthropu, what is this paravoli? A parable, it's a transliteration there, to you concerning the land of Israel, saying, the days are far off, all vision has perished. Basically, God has nothing to do with us today. It's all something other than us. Whatever it is of God is no longer valid. And I see that today here where I live in the United States, and it seems like it's going on all over the Christendom, where people are no longer believing in God, becoming impious, and thinking that God has nothing to do with the people today. It's a condition that's not only with Israel, but also, I believe, a worldwide condition today, which to me is all leading up to the beast, the arrival of the beast. On account of this, say to them, in the imperative, say to them, thus says Adonai Kyrios, even I will turn back this parable and change it, and no longer should the house of Israel speak this parable. For you shall say to them, the days have approached, and the matter of every vision, it's coming to pass right now, just as I believe the beast is coming soon. People may not believe in God, but they're going to wish they did. For there will not be any more any pseudo, false vision, nor ones using oracles for favor in the midst of the sons of Israel. That is, ones saying false things are going to be okay, nothing bad is going to happen. And I wonder if that's the same thing. I don't live in Israel, but I don't know what they think there, as far as if they think, well, their strength, their army is going to deliver them from all these bad things. Well, it very well might deliver them from an attack, but eventually the beast will arrive and will set up his nest, I believe, in the harlot city Babylon called Jerusalem. For I, the Lord, will speak my words, and I will act, and will not lengthen the time still. It's going to happen. For in your days, O rebelling house, I shall speak the word, and I will act, says Adonai Kyrios. It's going to happen. This is what Ezekiel is telling the captivity, who would still be able to tell the people in Jerusalem. And the word of the Lord came to me. There again, it changes again. The word of the Lord to me, saying, O son of man, behold, the house of Israel, the one rebelling, constant condemnation to Israel. In saying, they say, well, the vision which this man sees is for many days, and this one prophesies for times long, or long times. That is, it's way out in the future, and many people who may be listening to the video seminar here, when I talk about the beast coming, may think, well, this is for 1,000 years from now. Maybe he will come, something that's like that. This is July the 12th, 2018, and you that are listening to it in the future will know how close it is to the beast's arrival to this time. It'll be interesting. Maybe I'll be here. Hopefully I'm not. On account of this, say to them, thus says Adonai Kyrios, I shall not lengthen any longer all my words, whichever I should speak. For I shall speak a word, and I shall act, says Adonai, the Lord. So he's going to do it. So Ezekiel has now spoken these things, and now he is going to be speaking against the prophets, and we'll find out more about that in chapter 13, and hope you'll join us in chapter 13, and God bless.